Hello guys, welcome to my channel today. So in this video, the topic of a discussion would be how to prepare and ace NET JRF in the UGC NET examination. See, first of all, any candidate who is planning and aspiring to give UGC NET exam, you should always keep a priority in your mind that you will qualify JRF, because if you only keep NET, you will end up just being NET or even missing the chance. And if you have a preparation and a strategy to deal with JRF in your mind, there might be possibility that you don't cover up JRF, but you will surely cover NET. So I'll say put a goals that are higher in standard before you, so that you can achieve a smaller goal while preparing for the higher goal. So that was my basic ideology behind the topic today, because a lot of students have requested me to put a video regarding NET and JRF, and I have been receiving regular messages on Telegram and my YouTube channel comments also regarding how you had prepared for JRF and how you aced the December 2022 examinations regarding dealing with JRF. So I'll be dealing basically about the preparation strategies. So myself Aniket Sachan, and I have recently qualified the UGC NET JRF, and I completed my BLLB and LLM from RMLNLU Lucknow. So this is a sample about how JRF letter is being awarded to us, and in this you can see regarding the quality, like there are 3 years time, the valid period is there. Apart from this, this is a net certificate. This is the format how net certificate looks. You can see the difference in both of them. So that's why I say one should aspire for JRF, which provides clear detail about it. And this is the net letter. Now moving ahead, so this is a brief introduction and achievement regarding me. So I qualified for the UGC NET JRF. I am currently working as Management Trainee Legal in Coal India Limited, BCCL, Dhanbad, and I've also cleared for the Management Trainee of Shipping Corporation. Meanwhile, I was also selected for the Assistant Law Officer at NHAI and NTPC regarding my CLAT score in 2022. CLAT PG score, and this was my CLAT PG rank, and my ILI AI80 rank was AIR11, and in IELTS I scored AR67. So now coming first of all directly to NET without wasting any further time. So first of all, for any candidate preparing for this examination, you should have the idea as to syllabus. The NET paper comprises of two components, paper 1, paper 2. Both paper have 10 units each with specified topics mentioned therein. So you have to cover precisely those topics only which are mentioned. You should not do anything extra apart from that. If you are doing extra, you are just wasting your time. Therefore, I'll say if you are focusing for this paper, just do the units as well as the topics specified therein. Don't try to go here and there. So see, now coming to the units also, what are the 10 units first? So first we see there is a unit named jurisprudence and unit 2 constitution. Now see, for net paper, I'll say there are 6 subjects which you should have a special focus on. The remaining 4 units, you can just skim them through, but don't ignore them. I'm not saying to ignore them, you can skim them, but special importance should be given to these 6 units. First is jurisprudence, second is constitution, third is contract, fourth is IPC, fifth is your IPR, and the sixth one will go with the family law. So these subjects deserves a contribution from your side because they have a weightage. See, constitution and jurisprudence, they form a bulky portion. Constitution itself is a very bulky thing, and it's coupled with administrative law, so you are already added with lot of things. If you're an Bihar judiciary aspirant, you can understand the importance in that particular paper of prelims. Generally 40 to 50 questions are from constitution administrative law, and similarly in net paper also there is a much weightage of these two this unit 2. So unit 2, that is constitution and administrative law, should not be ignored. And the topics also, if you see, if you're preparing for any judicial examinations or even for UPSC or PCS, the polity portion which you generally cover these topics only. So it would not be a very tough task for you to deal with these subjects. You have to focus on very important topics of constitution and administrative law, be it preamble, FR, DPSP, your relationship between union and states, that part from 245 to 254, the legislative relations and plus administrative relations also needs to be covered up. Then apart from that, judiciary also you have to see emergency provisions, what are the temporary transitional provisions, the chapter which it never look for the judicial preparation, that is also required to be done here, election commission, and the scope of administrative law, principle of natural justice, and judicial review. So these are the topics which you should have idea, and the important case laws associated with it. See, first of all, I'll make it very clear. See, net examination is not only a matter of hard work, it's a matter of luck too, because the questions are very unpredictable. 5 to 6 questions would be there on arranging the case laws in which you would have never heard a single case law. So it's a paper guessing game that time. And if you guess well, and if you are having an elimination strategy method with you, which you can relate and you can eliminate the options if you are remembering any particular case out of one of them, the matching list, or if you know any of the years associated with them. So in that way, you can surely get an edge over others. So therefore, I say this paper is not only on hard work, it's also luck-based paper also. So have a preparation in a good ambit, but apart from that, use your mind also to mark the answers, because some of the questions which you don't have any idea can be answered very logically by seeing at the options. So now this constitutional unit I've discussed, and coming to jurisprudence. Jurisprudence also focuses mainly on schools, your definitions of possession, ownership, rights, what are the rights, what is will interest theory, will theory, and then modism, postmodism. See, the last three topics of jurisprudence, you just go through them in light detail. Major topics that need to be focused on subtopics 1 to 7 in jurisprudence. Moving ahead to paper, unit 3 and unit 4. See, PIL also forms, as I said, important part, and in PIL also basically your sources, what are the UN tribunals and UN bodies, what is the recognition, extraditions, WTO, and IHL. See, IHL does not come in much detail, but you should have idea, because many of us are still there who don't know difference in IHL and human rights law. So you need to have an overall idea as to the difference in both, because there are many scholars in international also came up with a definition like international law is vanishing point of jurisprudence, or it is not a, it is a weak law, it is a positive morality as said by Austin. So there are a lot of definitions also. There are contributions of Oppenheim, Lauterpacht, or your Hugo Grotius, the father of international law. So you have to just go through them also. And this way questions are framed. There are also important case laws, be it SS Lotus, Corfu Channel. So important case law list you should have, and you should go through them. Now coming to unit 4, C, IPC is very easy portion here, because there are very limited chapters mentioned, and you have to only go through the bare act of those and important case laws. For important case laws also, not much case laws are there, because certain units are only there which have important case laws which you have to deal. As you know, offense against women's body, it's full of like difference between 299 and 300 should be in your mind. Which cases are important? R versus R versus that go in the cases there, and then your Virsa Singh versus State of Punjab and all those cases which are there. Then Justice Mabel's statement regarding the differentiation. Then offense against states and terrorism to sedition. If you're doing, then you should know the word S. Vambatkare, you should know Kedarnath. Offense against property, so theft, extortion, robbery, women and children, drug and counterfeiting. Then offense against public tranquility, theories and kinds of punishment. So chapter 3 basically you can look through it, and the stages of the crime and inchoate crime. So these are the basic ideas. You should have idea of IPC also, and IPC is like generally an easy subject which is covered by all. So this paper does not trouble us. Now coming to torts and consumer protection. See, torts question are also there, but torts, as we all have studied quite well in our time, so and we also are an idea, fair idea to subject, because there are no sections at theory based paper, and if you are well versed with concepts, generally we are able to mark the answers. And cases law, but I'll suggest case laws and certain portions should be visited by you, because we are not well versed with case laws. And this torts paper is coupled with Consumer Protection Act of 1986, but you should also have an idea as 2019 Act, because now the Act is latest one, so you should see the differences between the 1986 Act and the 2019 Act. What are the jurisdiction limits? What are the definitions, like what is goods, what are services, what is deficiency, how one can approach, what is the jurisdiction of the tribunals, the three state, layer, district, and the national commission. Then the MV Act also, there are certain topics only which you have to see, like no fault liability, third party insurance claims, and the Competition Commission Act also, the section 3 and 4. So you have to look at that. Now coming to commercial laws. The commercial laws is a broad head topic, mainly dominated by contract law, SOGA, and partnership. In this also, contract act plays a very vital role. So contract act is a subject which is vital in every judicial examinations, also in with UPSC. So you can have a good idea. So see, mainly we need to focus on chapter 1 to 75. Apart from that, that is your 70 entire chapter that starts from indemnity to agency, that is 124 to 280, around it goes around 235 I guess. So it you have to cover those portions also quite well, and just look at the second part of the contract with the definition clauses on, like what's indemnity and if any special rights are there, agency, then what is sub-agent, what is your substituted agent, what is the mode of how the agency can be terminated, and all those things. Regarding NI Act also, NI Act, there are specific chapters which needs to be seen, like the dishonor chapter, what are the ingredients, like what are the section for the promissory note, bill of exchange, what is holder in due course. And for company law, the topics are specifically mentioned. You just go through those topics only. No need of extra thing to be discussed. So this was regarding the commercial law. Now coming to family law also, see, family law is a topic that is somewhat troublesome from others because we have to cover both Hindu law and Muslim law is full of terminologies, and the terminologies are also quite not easy to remember because most of the time they will appear similar to you while dealing with that. So I'll say focus first on Hindu law, try to discuss the cases and the settled cases and the provisions for the Hindu Marriage Act, HAMA, that is your Adoption Act, which is the HMGA, and your Succession Act. So try to cover the topics mentioned therein. Like, see, we are seeing the topic of living relationships. So you know, for these there are certain case laws which define them, because of which the concept of living relationship was recognized, with the Velu Swami versus D. Pataichi Ammal, your Khushbu case. So these are the cases which you need to go through regarding the marriage and dissolution. Also in divorce, also we have a lot of cases. If we eat cruelty, then we have Dastane versus Dastane. And we also have Amanpreet Kaur case where 6 months of cooling period regarding the irretrievable breakdown was also held different side. And so all those things you need to know. In Muslim law also, you should go to the topics of waqf, gift, will, and all those things. Now coming to environmental law, see, mostly of the time we ignore this subject, but I say we should not ignore because it's a very easy mark fetcher. Because in this there's nothing much more details. You should know the idea of the international legal principles which are there, the how Constitution provides for the fundamental rights, and DPSPs which basically cater for the environmental law. We should also know the Supreme Court cases where we have borrowed these principles and adapted in our system, and the other case laws also of the Supreme Court which deals with the protection of the environment. There are certain acts also dealing with the environmental matters, be it NGT Act, be it Water Act, Environment Protection Act, the Air Act, so noise pollution rules. So have an idea as to the provisions. Like if you go for NGT, then NGT is governed by what is the appealing provision for NGT, what is the jurisdictional limit, within how much time you have to apply. Then also there are certain international conventions. See, generally one of the favorite question is regarding certain conventions. They specifically mention Bonn, Basel, Europe, Kyoto. These conventions are mentioned and they're asked to match with what was done in them. So you have to have an idea of that. You should also look for the commissions in India, be it NHRC, be it Minorities Commission, Women Commission, the commissions mentioned in Constitution like as, and National Commission on Scheduled Caste, Backward Class, Tribes, etc. So this needs to be done by you, and the Bill of Rights, that is ICCPR, UDHR, with the provisions dealing with the environmental matters should be looked down by you. So these topics should need to be covered. Now coming to the last two units, that is IPR and comparative public law. See, IPR forms a very important portion because I remember 2022 paper which I gave, there were IPR questions and I was having no idea. So I tried to guess them, and however, to my help, some questions went right, but I had no clue really regarding IPR. So there are, I'll say, just go through the sections of those bare acts topics which are mentioned herein. Don't go for case laws because generally those who have specialization in IPR, they will have a plus point, but covering all these subjects will not be easy task for you. If you have short notes, then it's easy thing. But for me, if I'll suggest, I'll say for the IT and this intellectual property rights, you just go to the bare acts of those topics which I mentioned here. Now coming to comparative public law, for this, these are general things if you are studying them in LLM also, because sometimes people appear for the net examination just after LLB and then they qualify LLM, but generally most of the students while pursuing LLM only they appear. So in this cases we generally study this subject as a part of LLM career syllabus also, curriculum also. So these are the topics which you generally have an idea what is presidential, parliamentary government, and how the comparative model, like what is in USA, what is in England, what is in Canada, which is better federal country, rule of law, what is different in substantive and procedural due process, then separation of power, independence of judiciary. For this, you can refer to the EPG Pathshala notes also, or any comparative law book which you have in your curriculum. So this was an idea as to syllabus of paper 2. Now coming to paper 1, see, paper 1 also have 10 units. One is teaching aptitude, research aptitude, comprehension. See, these are the 10 units. See, I tell you my case, I have not prepared for a single unit for paper 1. But in my case, since I was having a thoda advantage in maths and reasoning, and my reading speed was quite well, so I went focused on these 3 units because these are randomly prepared. You don't specifically prepare for them, because if you are giving the idea competitive examinations, इतना आपको idea हो जाएगा. Maths की basic होती है, percentage, DI वाला आप देख के इन्फर कर सकते हैं. हाँ, जिनकी थोड़ी वीक है वो थोड़ी प्रैक्टिस कर ले, बट एक्स्ट्रा से पेपर 1 पे इतनी मेहनत करने की कोई नीड नहीं है. उसके अलावा टीचिंग एप्टीट्यूड और रिसर्च एप्टीट्यूड में से आई से आप इसमें से रिसर्च एप्टीट्यूड का थोड़ा देख सकते हैं। टीचिंग एप्टीट्यूड को अभी स्टार्ट मत करिएगा, फर्स्ट गो विद द इजी यूनिट। सी नाउ कम फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल डीलिंग विद द यूनिट्स which are there like teaching aptitude, research aptitude. Unit 3 is comprehension, a passage from which questions will be asked. Then is communication, then is maths, then is logical reasoning, then is your data interpretation, ICT, people development and environment, and your higher education system. See, for this paper one, 5 questions will be there, each carrying 2 marks from each module. So you can see the 50 marks is from your paper 1 and 150 marks is of paper 50 marks of paper 1. So in this, if you now look in the ambit, so if you go through that, 5 questions are there, each carrying 2 marks. So if you go an overall idea with that, so 10 marks if you look allotted are to the each unit. Now coming to the which unit you should focus specifically and precisely. First of all, focus on higher education because it's very less topics and we generally listen about these topics and we can answer them. Then go with your ICT, that is your computer technology. So basically they are full forms of RAM, ROM and all those things, binary to decimal conversions you should know. So that thing should be done. So as I tell you that higher education system, ICT, communication, research aptitude, and at the last you should focus on the teaching aptitude because it's quite I'll say not easy, but there are a lot of details in that. The rest units if you want you can skip also, because if you cover 5 units, see, mainly if you want to qualify for JRF, if you score 30 questions, if you do 30 questions right also, then also it will give you quite big edge, because for maximum JRF candidates you will see they will range in 30 to 40 questions in this segment. So this was an idea as to the paper 1. Now coming to how to tackle this paper one, as I was discussing and write certain things like which you should focus. So see, if you're well versed in maths, basic 10th level as I was saying, and have a good reading and interpreting skills, you're automatically prepared for the certain topics such as maths, reasoning, and your data aptitude. So 3 units are automatically prepared. That is mathematical reasoning and aptitude, DI, and comprehension. For comprehension, you can just practice certain passages on GMAT level passages or any other passage also, which can update your reading and interpreting skills. Apart from that, according to me, as I told that which worked with my case also, because I gave only 2 days and whatever I could just skim and go through I did, but my friends had given a time on paper one and they scored around 40 marks out of 50. 40 questions out of 50 questions. So and I was having around 32 to 33 questions which I have done. So I'll say just focus on, apart from these 3 units, on higher education, environment, research aptitude, ICT, and communication. These are quite easy units which can be done and discussed by you. And units like teaching aptitude and logical reasoning can be ignored. Why I'm saying like this, because logical reasoning have a lot of things to be covered. They have Indian philosophical aspects also, they have Western philosophical concepts also, so you have to have a very quite understanding. It will take your time to understand those topics. Regarding teaching aptitude also, there are a lot of modules like how teaching should be done, and see, certain questions of teaching aptitude can be answered by even logical understanding and logical interpretation. So if you're having an idea as to that, you can answer it. So therefore I believe that there is no concept. Like one of my friend was there who didn't even prepare anything for paper 1, but he scored 42 questions right out of 50. So this is a paper of luck also, as I say. So you have to be logically answering the questions, and meanwhile if you have time, if you prepare these topics, I'll say they will surely give you an edge. Now, apart from that, for books portion, like which books can be referred? See, there's a book of KV Madan which can be referred by you, and if you don't have time, also you should skip it, because I personally did not study from book. I though had ordered this book, but when I opened it, I found it too bulky to cover up it in a span of 1 month time. So for me, I watched YouTube videos, and generally for any JRF examination, you should focus first on law paper only and then on paper 1. But you should not ignore paper 1 if you have time. So out of 50 questions, if you don't do anything also, you will end up scoring 20 mark, not 20, I'm saying 20 marks, but I'm saying 20 questions here. Eh? So because 20 questions are generally from maths, comprehension, reasoning, they cover up your ambit. So if you do this, you will surely cover up this much questions. And in order to be qualifying, you need around 30 to 35 questions to be right in your paper 1. And for this, the online resources that I could have referred and I had referred is the 2 channels of YouTube, that is Mohit Sharma classes on YouTube channel and Let's Crack NTA UGC Net. So these were two YouTube channels which I had followed. If you go on these channels and open the playlist, you will see the topics are arranged in Let's Crack NTA. Even the previous year questions are based on units are specifically differently provided therein. While Mohit Sharma classes also discuss with the topics, they have the playlist on each unit which you can watch and you can have an idea as to the overall topic. So therefore, last strategy would be of mine would be not to ignore paper one because it give you edge over others. In law, because maximum students will prepare for that, so they will be falling in same lot. Therefore, paper one gives you an edge over it. Now coming to paper two, that is very much important. That is your law portion. So discussing in this regards, if you're a judicial aspirant, surely you will have an edge over others because some subjects you have already covered. As I was discussing the 6 subjects which you should be focusing on, I have also mentioned here, you should have an idea as to constitution, contract, family law, IPC, torts, PIL, and jurisprudence. Because if you're judicial aspirant, you can see that these topics are also covered in states like Bihar and UP also, because in Bihar, consti, admin, juris, torts forms a part, and PIL forms in PIL and juris in UP also. So these subjects will give you edge, and these subjects are also much asked in this UGC Net examination. So I'll say if you are a candidate who are having a sufficient time, then you should start with subjects like constitution because it has greater marks distribution. And while dealing with this law paper, first try to cover only those portions which are prescribed by the UGC syllabus. And if you are having some crisp notes or short notes of an institution, or had you prepared them for a preparation at judiciary or college level, then refer those notes, because at these times referring bulky books, I'll say, is not a advisable job, because you will end up losing your time because you have a limited span of time and you have to cover a lot of things. You have to solve previous year question papers. So for that's why I'll say not to go with bulky books. And for other subjects, I'll say IPR is a very much important thing, because I personally felt that if I had well done in IPR, my marks would have been better. Though I have qualified for CHARF, but my marks would have been much better because I was not having any ideas to the IPR questions. And for juris and PIL, so we need to study very limited, and the topics also which are there, we need to specifically deal with the important portions. Like if we're dealing with historical school, we'll just to know the idea what is historical law school, what are the proponents of those 70 main 2 3 points about 70, like whether he was called Darwin before Darwin law is found or made, he came up with which theory. So main came up with this status to contact. So these are certain keywords which are there with every author which you need to remember. So that's why they help you to eliminate the options also. Now, further moving ahead in PIL, as I said, theories, recognition, extradition, UN, IHL, these are the topics from which majorly questions would be there. On IPC, the offenses which are specifically mentioned in the syllabus. So just read bare act and cover sections of those offenses according along with the reading case laws. For CPA Act, I'll suggest YouTube video would be sufficient, or if you have an idea regarding the comparative review of Consumer Protection Act 2018 and 29. 1986 and 2019, so you can go through that and also have a bare act difference and comparing both of them in front of you. Now moving ahead, company law and NI Act. See, I'll say not to give you much time to them, just give 1 to 2 days. One day you can give to NI Act, just an overall idea, important sections you can just go through the index, and certain inside also sections of them. And company law, the topics like mentioned, like your resolutions, director meetings, etc. For environmental law, theories, international cases, Indian cases, as I already told earlier, also conferences, Indian statutes are important section. For IPR, just read BEREC topics. For contemporary legal development, just go through random topic visits or give reliance on the notes of EPG Pathshala. See, EPG Pathshala is a very good site. It is provided by MHRD, in which your content is provided by the renowned professors at different esteemed universities. So I'll say the content is really good. You can refer to the EPG Pathshala site by typing it on Google and then clicking on the law segment. You will find separate topics there, like for IPC, comparative criminal law, jurisprudence. There are very well detailed notes and they are very quality notes, I'll say. So you can just refer them and follow for the same. And this comparative legal development is surely to be done by that, because you will have an idea as to what's the difference in the jurisdictions of the different nations while dealing with topics like federalism, constitutionalism, judicial review, etc. Now, which sources can you refer? See, many people borrow this Arihant Law UGC guide. That theoretically, if I'll say it's a good book, but many questions are marked wrong, so you have to be very advisable while answering them. And those who have not well prepared in their LLB days, so they will find a struggling task to discuss and examine. Because if you remember the answers of previous according to this book, and you will mark them in your exam, if they get repeated, then you surely end up marking wrong. So I'll say, if you're referring this book, then please, I'll just say be caution, because answers are wrong also. And for net you can refer YG law videos on YouTube or its paid course, because its notes are quite well. And even me and my friends have referred some notes which we had. And YG law videos were also good, and they provide you mocks also and previous year questions in form of MCQs, through which you can develop an idea on those topics. Notes are also quite good. And then, as I said, EPG Pathshala can also be referred. And meanwhile, say you can refer other YouTube channels which are dealing with the CLAT examination, because it covers certain topics like PIL, jurisprudence, etc., which will help you. So this rostrum legal edge, etc., could also be seen. Now moving ahead, so for questions on arranging case laws, as I said, that net is not only a hard work paper, it's also a luck based thing. So for questions on arranging case laws, don't get disturbed by seeing those questions, because most case laws would be there in which you will see you don't have ideas to a single one of them. So in such cases you will be confused what to mark and what to not. So try to look for the elimination method if you are able to recall anything, or if you can segregate them by year, because it will surely help you. And secondary thing, I'll say, don't read from too many sources, because many candidates say they take source, यार मेरा दोस्त ये पढ़ रहा है, मेरा दोस्त वो पढ़ रहा है, सब लेके बैठते हैं और कुछ नहीं कर पाते हैं, बेवकूफ बन के आते हैं. So try to focus on limited notes. अपना लिमिटेड करिए, पहले एक नोट्स पूरे कर लीजिए, उसके बाद अगर दूसरा उठाना आप दूसरा उठा के बस देख लो कि कोई एक्स्ट्रा पोर्शन है, उसको उतना कवर अप करिए. डोंट ट्राई टू जस्ट ट्राई टू पहले आ जाइए, चलो साथ साथ कर लेते हो, उसमें टाइम बहुत जाएगा. या तो आपके पास टाइम हो, आप जैसे अभी से दिसंबर का अटेम्प्ट की तैयारी कर रहे हैं, तो आपके पास टाइम हो, यू आर फ्री टू डू एनीथिंग. बट फॉर दोज कैंडिडेट्स हु आर हैविंग 1 or 2 months, I'll say that's not an advisable thing. So that thing. And for if you're having an ample amount of time, you can refer certain books also for the understanding of certain topics which you are having confusion or you are not having clarity on with reference to notes. And for JRF, I'll say 2 months time at least is required to cover up with clarity. And in this 2 months, I means if you're devoting around 6 to 8 hours. See, because in LLB days we don't study much. That's a very quiet fact which everyone will believe and agree also, because hardly we study before our examinations at LLB. We do not study in overhaul period, and that's why we face a lot of issues. And whenever we study for competitive examinations, we prepare them post LLB only or at our last years. And also at last year, there are a lot of events and all those fests going on in colleges, because of which, and also since last year is ending, so the friends and all those things, we lose up our time. So just I'll say focus on your time, give your time devoted to it. And if I say 2 months, then you should have 2 months with around 6 2 hours minimum of study. And also don't get up confused, just give your best and study limited resources to cover the topics and the heads provided in this syllabus. And please solve previous year questions. See, for any paper I always say to solve previous year questions. It gives you an idea. For my case, I solved 2018 to 2023 paper of both June and December shifts, and I found around 15 to 20 questions in this 2020 December question paper were based on the previous year question papers, though they were not directly, they were indirectly. For example, if any case laws matching came, two of the case laws I found them were repeated in the 2022 question paper also. So from those two questions, I was able to match, because I can have an idea to the options of the two cases which were mentioned therein. So this my answer was reduced out. That's why I say that previous year helps in not only answering the questions that are directly being repeated, but even indirectly repeated. So solve previous year questions, and these are quite available on the Google also and on the Ugc Net site also. Now, wish you all the best for your preparation, and thank you for watching this video, and I hope I may have helped you in answering queries which you had in your mind. And you can follow me on LinkedIn by searching Aniket Sachan, and that's my email ID if you want to contact. And that's my YouTube channel. You can search Aniket Sachan log, and you will find my channel therein with my photo. Apart from that, I'll be sharing my Telegram group which you can join and discuss your doubts. I'll be posting it in the description box. You can refer it. Thank you guys. Prepare well, and I hope all of you qualify for the GRF. Thank you guys.